Well, I can certainly see the absurdist connection between Monty Python and North Korea. Absolutely. What was... I mean, it was interesting in this particular case because we were in North Korea and we had two very good English-speaking guides, young guides, and a sort of little, behind them, a sort of scrum of minders who were rather more sort of draconian in what they would let us do. And we were always trying to sort of break through so we could get them to talk about something maybe unguarded, like their own feelings about their country or our country and all that. Because, you know, in North Korea, everything is so very, you have to be online, or I'm doing the party line all the time, and no criticism anywhere. So to see somebody, and we were just stuck at an airport for a long time, waiting for the only flight of the day, when our director said, "Look, I've got something, you know, you might like to see," to the Su Yang, who was a 28-year-old lady who was our guide, and it turned out he'd got the clip of a fish slapping dance, and it was wonderful. For a moment, we were all truly in a strange world. And she looked at it and saw this, and I was kind of doing slapping John Cleese with two pilchards, and she looked and she turned to me and said, "Oh, this is what you do?" And I thought, yeah, that's it. Television presenter, forget it, writer, novelist. I'm a man who hits people with fish. And then the bit when I get hit and fall in the water, she just cracked up. And so for a moment, you know, there was a spontaneous, really outpouring. And there weren't many of those spontaneous moments, but they're worth a lot. And although it was sort of showing her some comedy and all that, it was just her laughter was just wonderful.
And do you feel, you know, it's funny when the music plays at the beginning, we're all animated by music, right? But there's a debate about whether we all can be animated by humour, whether people can all access certain kinds of funny.
I mean, I think humour is so important in trying to break down a barrier. In another country where you don't speak the language, you don't necessarily understand the politics and all that, there's always, you know, slapstick is an international, meeting point, or if you like, sort of breaking point, because everybody knows that if you sort of kick a football, miss it and fall over on your ass, people think that's very funny, you know, because it makes them feel better and makes you look an idiot. And I've done that many times and got good laughs, and then it loosens people up. So I think, to a certain extent, humour is very, very important. I've found very few countries, in fact, I can't think of any country in the world where I've found people totally immune to humour. Unless, of course, they have got guns and uniforms and have been told not to laugh.
And then they just don't.
And they just don't.
So,
except in one checkpoint in Iraq. Yeah. The checkpoints are always very difficult places because there are a lot of them, because Iraq is still very militarised and weaponised, and you know, within 50 miles you might have 3 or 4 checkpoints. You stop. We had a letter from the president apparently saying, "Let these people go through the country." No good at all. Totally ignored. Because the people who run the checkpoints, that's their own little fiefdom.
Yes.
And they run it. And, you know, you're from the West and you came and knocked us about, but, you know, we're going to not make it easy for you. This is my place. You know, go and stand up, take your car over there and wait. So you'd wait 45 minutes and then they'd look and then off you'd go. But one of them, there was quite a high-ranking colonel visiting the checkpoint, and he was very chuffed that we were filming. And he came across and we said, "Very sorry, I hope you don't mind us filming the checkpoint, because I know most people don't know." He said, No, that's fine. I said, "We're very happy for you to film in this checkpoint, provided one thing." And I said, "What's that?" "That you have a selfie with me before you go." So we had a selfie with this guy, this running colonel, me and the colonel, and we called that checkpoint cheerful, because it was one of the best places in Iraq.
One thing I want to know, because it doesn't show up in the book, is do people know who you are? How often do you get recognised travelling along the route of the Tigris through Iraq?
Not at all. Fortunately.
Not one time.
Well, no, I don't think there was any sort of little boatman going along and saying, "Hey, Spanish Inquisition! Yeah! Wow, cool, man, cool." No, there was absolutely none of that at all, it is terrific. It's the best way to travel, because if people start, you know, knowing who you are, then it changes it changes the whole equation, and you suddenly can't be the observer in quite the way. You know, you're a great journalist and all that, so you know what it's like looking at people. You don't want people to bother with you at all, really. You just want to be allowed to look at them.
The reason I ask it is it just, you know, I've sort of seen you in places, and I also see people go, oh, look, there's Michael Palin, you know.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what that's like when that... I once met Ravi Shankar's daughter, who describes an amazing occasion when Ravi Shankar was trying to get out of a car. It was just getting absolutely mobbed in India, just absolutely mobbed. And actually, then she said it was okay because we had a bodyguard. Uncle George helped him get into the building. And I said, who was Uncle George? She said, George Harrison. No one recognised who he was. And I thought to myself afterwards, God, that must have been so wonderful. And there must be something about being completely anonymous and seeing the world without being seen. That must be wonderful about travel.
I'll tell you a good story. When we were in the Himalaya and we were going up the Annapurna Trail, and I wasn't feeling great, and I was suffering from altitude sickness. And we were just going up and up and up, and there was a long line of steps, stone steps, going right up to the next platform. And I saw two women at the top, and I was at the bottom, and I saw them nudge each other. I thought, oh God, I've got to walk up and I've got to look as I'm really enjoying it, and I'm fit and I'm not 65 years old and all that sort of thing. So I walked all the way up, and as I passed these two ladies, I sort of, you know, sashayed past, trying to look very cool. And as I went by, I heard one say to the other, oh my God, it's Eric Idle. So, you know, I know my place. At least I was recognised, but not for the right person. That's rather good, isn't it? Yeah.